So, in terms of common policies, would you agree with the Liberal Democrat mansion tax being vaguely similar to a land value tax?
No, the mansion tax is nothing like land value tax. Mansion tax is fine for the rich householders in London, because the widows will sell their houses and, people who have money will buy them. But a mansion tax is nothing like what we're proposing at all.
So, would you support it though, were you to be elected as Member of Parliament for Corby and were it proposed?
No, we wouldn't support a mansion tax. A mansion tax wouldn't raise any kind of money whatsoever. It would be worthless to impose a mansion tax.
Are there any policies of the current coalition government that you would support?
I think they're all flawed at the moment. Current coalition government just doesn't know what it's doing.
Would you, on, for example, the big issue at the moment, and issue on which it's seen is having a huge impact on this election, the economy, do you think that the government should pursue more expansionary policy, borrow more money, have higher deficits, or should it be imposing even more austerity than it is at the moment?
We should not be borrowing more money. That is just wasting money. We should spend what we get in tax and other.
So you don't believe that the flexibility that we can have with being able to borrow at the very low rates that we are able to at the moment is valuable and an opportunity at this point?
Borrowing, government debt is borrowing against the tax take of children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Why should we put them into such a position already? When they're already, where every man, woman and child at the moment, each is in debt to the tune of about £10,000 already. We don't want to borrow any more. We want to reduce that.
So, just to perhaps put this into a slightly different context, we might be able to take large steps towards balancing the budget in this country if we cut projects like HS2 or Crossrail in London. Would you advocate scaling down on these investments in order to manage to balance the budget?
No, we don't have to scale down on these. We don't have to scale down on these at all. These are valid projects that will benefit the country.
I'm still somewhat confused, suggesting that we can go down to 1/4 of the tax intake, not sacrifice these investment projects, maintain all the same level of services that we're used to. Are you actually suggesting that the government as a whole is spending 4 times as much money as it needs to achieve its goals?
Absolutely. It is.
What is your theory behind why successive governments have not reduced this massive overspend?
Because there are factors within their policies and the people who determine those policies which don't let them.
Can you give an example?
I can't, but
it doesn't have to be from this current coalition government, but maybe from the Labour government before, or even the Conservative government before that.
Right, well, private finance initiative. On the face of it, it looks like a good deal, but what it is putting money in the hands of the private financier rather than it being a government-funded project. You see, they may bid, they may say, right, we'll do this for this amount of money, and they may do it for less than that and pocket the rest. Whereas a properly budgeted, properly worked out solution funded by government through the tax take would be a much better idea, because it would stop the waste, stop the money being stolen basically, and provide a much better service. For example, the Highgate Mental Health Centre was built at a cost of £10 million, provided a new mental health wards, but the place boils in the summer and it boils in the winter. There are no windows that can be opened, and there's only air conditioning in one room per ward. I mean, for 10 million you'd expect that the whole system would have been done properly. It hasn't been done.
And do you believe that were this project to be undertaken by specialists within central government, that they'd have eliminated these design flaws?
Absolutely, and it probably would have come in a lot cheaper.
So moving on slightly from economic issues to social issues, where do you stand on issues like drugs laws and prohibition?
We find that drugs laws and prohibition are a worthless sentiment because they don't achieve anything. They just criminalise large sections of the population who are not actually creating any harm to anyone. It is truly a victimless crime, and the cannabis should be regulated, taxed and licensed, just like alcohol and cigarettes are. Harder drugs, well, that will have to be looked into, but we can take the fact that Switzerland has a good heroin policy and it has cut down drug use, cleaned up the streets. People don't have to go to the criminal element to get their drugs. They can get them from reputable sources, use shooting galleries for the existing addicts. And therefore, when the criminality goes out of it, there's no reason for anyone to actually start, or if they do want to, they can try it cleanly and in a much more licensed, regulated way. For example, at the moment, a 12-year-old can go and buy cannabis quite happily with a £20 note. With the legalisation, licensing, you won't be able to, and therefore the criminal element and the drug money and barons that control the supply will be eliminated.
Do you believe that the current law enforcement is disproportionately targeting some of these crimes that aren't really having much of an effect on people's lives, in your view?
Absolutely, because most crime is drug acquisitive. It's to pay for drugs. If drugs were freely available, yes, they would be cheap, because we, as a government, we can supply them a lot cheaper for medicinal use, also for recreational use. All of that would go by the by. There wouldn't be this need to steal. You'd have it prescribed. And if you're on free prescriptions, you get it for free.
So I'm afraid that we're going to have to begin winding this up shortly, but for one final question, were you to be able to propose a private member's bill as the MP for Corby, what would you propose?
That we repeal the 1972 European Communities Act.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.